tell all your secrets on the first date.
No. No.
When a relationship's new, I think you have to trust that that person might be just as scared as you, and realize that that other person that you're opening up to isn't perfect either. I think we tend to be our own worst critics, and we might be judging ourselves more harshly than the person we're opening up to would ever judge us for what we perceive as, an imperfection or a flaw, or, something that's, just too awful to be loved if we reveal this part of ourselves.
Opening up and being vulnerable requires you to have a level of trust in your environment, in yourself, and in whoever's around you, whether that be your partner or partners that you're with. So you're going to need to work on making sure that you have the actual logistical elements of safety in place before you're going to be able to open up and be vulnerable. And then at that point, once you have all the important things in place, everything is taken care of, nobody's going to interrupt you, no one's going to see you, hear you, things like that. Then I think you're able to at least try to push yourself to open, to talk, to allow things to come in. And you can, when you get scared there emotionally, you can be like, hey, cool, all my needs are met, my body's safe, my family's safe, my house is safe, my dog is safe, whatever the case. And then that way you'll be able to relax into whatever experience you're trying to be vulnerable for.
I know when I'm being subbed by you, It's like when I'm being that vulnerable, I'm like handing you the key to my heart, Exactly. It's like I trust that you're going to take care of me and not hurt me. And it's very fulfilling to experience that for sure.
Exactly.
If you're not used to being vulnerable, it can be hard to open up. So start with something really simple. Think about the last time you felt a little bit insecure and tell someone about it.
Being vulnerable does mean that you're learning to take risks. Share little pieces about yourselves and see how it's received. So I'm a Trekkie. I like Star Trek. If that person poo-poos my like of Star Trek, or teases me about my like of Star Trek, or puts it down, or tells me that Star Wars is better in a non-joking, fun, jovial way, then I know that they might not be the safest person to be vulnerable with. That gives me clues. If that person celebrates me, if that person's interested in knowing more, or how I fell in love with Star Trek, or even wants to talk about Star Trek versus Star Wars and has arguments on both sides, that person is somebody that you can learn to be vulnerable with. They're encouraging, they're supportive, they're interested, and they're also contributing to the thing that you shared, right? So by taking a smaller risk, you reap a great reward, and that teaches you who you can be vulnerable with.
Time, like you can't just expect to meet somebody and then know their deepest, darkest secrets on day one, but over time, build that trust, talk. It's my best answer.
Opening up and being vulnerable is oftentimes about being brave and taking a risk and not knowing what's going to happen. So sometimes you just need to be brave, take some risks, and venture into the unknown.
One of my favorite TED Talks is actually by Brené Brown. I think it's actually the most viewed TED Talk of all time. And she talks a lot about the power of vulnerability, and I recommend it to everyone. I even watch it. I watch it to remind myself of how incredible vulnerability is, how important it is to stay true to ourselves, even with the fear of rejection.
You open up and be vulnerable, first with self-knowledge. Who am I? What are my fears? What are the deep things about me that it's really hard to share? And then you find someone you can trust. Don't go to the bus stop and be like, here's a list of my fears. Don't give it to strangers. Find someone you can trust. Who do you feel safe with? If they're nice, if they're wonderful, they'll treat it respectfully. And you can also just observe them. Are they treating everyone else? Are they nice to the waiter? Are they nice to the other people around them in such a way that you think you can trust them? And then you share.
Communication with oneself. If you don't know how to be vulnerable with yourself and communicate with yourself, it's going to make it much more difficult to communicate with somebody else. if you can be accepting of yourself, accepting of your flaws, accepting of your strengths, then that will aid in the reverse to somebody else.
That's an interesting question. I think it really depends on your kind of emotional style. I knew that before the transition, I kept things in, and it was very hard to express my emotions. It was very difficult to cry. And it took a lot of badgering from my wife to get some kind of response from me. So I think in how I react now is that I'm a bit more forthcoming in how I feel, and I don't know, I feel just a little bit more in tune with my emotions. So obviously my experience isn't going to be everybody's experience, but I think just trying to find a way that you can be open with your partner and feel comfortable and communicate what you need is a great start.